something that can drive a lot of taste in their products and a lot of appeal for consumers. So it's one of the basic building blocks.
You're getting this chemical composite, which has this health halo of being healthy and source of vitamin C and all this nonsense, but it's actually really, really bad for us.
The truth is, as consumers, we have no clue what goes into those cans, boxes and bottles. We just hope and pray that what we're about to devour won't make us puke. But there are some foods that once you know how they're made, you'll never want to eat them again.
Food industry experts that compiled this list of foods they say we should never eat.
From mystery meat to unpronounceable chemical concoctions, these are the culinary creations that will make you think twice before taking another bite.
Listen to a word I said. This steak is medium rare. I asked for it medium, and I wanted extra gravy on my mashed potatoes. Let me ask you something.
Hot dogs. We love to put hot dogs in almost everything. Sausages, pizza, shawarma, and even in our meals to make it more palatable.
I could see it. Somebody that hasn't been here 50 years, they take a bite of the hot dog and I tell them, it's gonna take you back to the last time you were here. And sure enough, the head movement tells me everything.
But what if we told you that this seemingly innocent sausage hides a dark secret? Brace yourself, because once you learn about its production process, you may never look at a hot dog the same way again. First off, let's debunk the myth. Hot dogs are not made from actual dogs. Instead, they're a mishmash of animal parts that most people wouldn't dare touch with a 10-foot pole. We're talking about things like skin, blood, liver, head, pig's mouth, meat, feet, and basically any leftover scraps from the slaughterhouse floor. And as if that wasn't stomach-turning enough, the casing used to hold this unsavory concoction together is made from the cleaned intestines of animals. After being stuffed into these delightful casings, the hot dog mixture is cooked, cooled, and packaged for your enjoyment. But let's be real, after learning about this revolting process, the only thing you'll be enjoying is a big old serving of nausea. Kasumatsu. This treat is made from sheep's milk and is filled with live insect larvae, also known as maggots. Yes, maggots in your cheese, but wait, it gets even worse.
The maggots are in there. Let's go. Cheers.
Whoa, fuck.
There's a chance that these little critters can survive the journey through your digestive system and set up camp in your intestines. You could be facing discomfort, irritation, and a whole host of other health issues. So, if you're looking for a new experience, maybe steer clear of Kasumatsu. After all, there are plenty of other cheeses out there that won't leave you questioning your life choices. Pringles. You might wrestle with the can, trying to extract those last elusive chips, but the real battle is with the truth about what's inside.
Avoid! Avoid!
Forget about potatoes. These chips are made from a mishmash of rice, wheat, corn, and a smattering of potato flakes. This concoction is then shaped, rolled, sprayed with powdered flavors, and cut into those perfectly uniform shapes that fit so snugly in their iconic tube. But hold on, it gets worse. Ever heard of acrylamide? Well, it's a dreadful chemical found in Pringles that's known to cause cancer. But how does it end up in our favorite snack? It's a byproduct of the high temperature cooking process used to create these chips. So, next time you find yourself reaching for a tube of Pringles, just remember what's really inside. A mishmash of questionable ingredients and a side of potential health risks. Maybe it's time to reconsider your snack choices. After all, there are plenty of other less questionable treats out there just waiting to be devoured. Talking about treats, let's talk about one of our favorites. Chocolate. The supposed elixir of love, the ultimate mood lifter, and a girl's confidant. But before you sink your teeth into that delectable piece of heaven, you might want to consider what else is lurking beneath the surface. Rodent hair. Yes, rodent hair. The FDA actually allows for a small amount of other foreign matter in our food.
The agency has set certain defect levels for foods, even those that are packaged. The FDA says there can be no more than 3 rodent hairs in a sample the size of 3 average candy bars.
We're talking about anything from cigarette butts to mammalian droppings, fruit flies, maggots, and even stick parts. But if you're still not fazed by the thought of consuming a few extra protein-rich additives in your chocolate, then go ahead and enjoy your creamy confections. Just don't say we didn't warn you about what might be lurking beneath that smooth, velvety surface. Canned tomatoes. So, you thought canned tomatoes were your pantry's best friend? Well, think again. Sure, they save you a trip to the market, but at what cost? Those innocent looking cans are lined with a resin that's basically a BPA leaching machine, and because tomatoes are so acidic, they basically speed up the process. So the problem is not with tomatoes but with the packaging. BPA exposure can lead to a whole host of health issues like hormonal chaos, wonky organs, sperm defects, and even an increased risk of mental disabilities.
In the late 1700s, a lot of Europeans feared tomatoes. Tomatoes were nicknamed poison apple because it was thought that the higher class got sick and died after eating them.
Suddenly, that trip to the market for fresh tomatoes doesn't sound so bad, does it? Your hormones and organs will thank you for it. Ice cream. It turns out that vanilla ice cream, along with many other food products, may contain a rather unappetizing substance known as castoreum. But what is castoreum? The nether regions of both male and female beavers. That's right, you could be digesting a scoop of ice cream that's flavored with beaver butt secretions.
Interesting thing about castoreum is that it smells and tastes like vanilla. And so because of this, used to be a high demand for it to replace vanilla flavoring and vanilla scent in human products.
Suddenly, those sprinkles don't seem so appealing, do they? Well, if you think beaver's butt is gross, wait till you see this one. Shrimps. Ever wondered where those tasty shrimps on your plate come from? The reality might make you lose your appetite. These little critters are farmed in crowded, filthy pools filled with antibiotics, disinfectants, and pesticides.
Antibiotics can be life-saving or they can be detrimental. So don't start taking fish antibiotics. That's what a lot of people are doing.
So next time you're about to consume some shrimp, maybe think twice about where it came from and the not so appetizing journey they took to get to your table. Chicken nuggets.
It's time for the Upfront Outtake. Some bad news about chicken nuggets. They're terrible for you. Shocker, you say? All right, well, it might be even worse than you thought.
Let's spare ourselves the horror of how chicken nuggets are made because it's not a pretty sight. But what's lurking inside these seemingly innocent nuggets is enough to make your stomach turn. Silicone breast implant fillers. Commercial breads. Have you ever checked the ingredients list on the back of the bread bag? Well, prepare to have your appetite ruined. One common ingredient found in mass-produced breads is L-cysteine, an amino acid used as a dough conditioner. And where does this L-cysteine come from, you ask? Human hair.
But a hair in my food? Oh no, you didn't.
Sometimes it's also derived from duck feathers, cow horns, and pig bristles. But that doesn't sound any better. But the real problem is, a lot of this hair comes from the floors of hair salons. Perhaps it's time to reconsider your bread options and opt for something a little less, well, hairy. Beer. You wouldn't believe it, but some beers are not as pure and innocent as they seem. Take Guinness, for instance. This iconic stout contains traces of fish bladder.
Guinness announced that it is going to stop using fish bladders in its brewing process starting next year. In response, Guinness drinkers issued a statement saying, "What?"
Yes, you heard that right, fish. Apparently, a fish bladder is used in the production process to remove haziness from the final product. Can you imagine the horror of sipping on a pint of beer, only to realize that it has been filtered through a fish bladder? It's enough to make you reconsider your drink choices. Pork. One man's pork dinner turned into a nightmare when he discovered a brain-eating tapeworm swimming in the fluid inside his eye. And that's not even the worst part. This creepy crawler was pregnant with 50,000 eggs ready to hatch inside his skull. Imagine the horror of having baby tapeworms causing seizures and weakness in your legs. But how did this happen? Well, it turns out that undercooked pork is a breeding ground for these horrifying parasites. Pigs enjoy eating rotten garbage, which is basically a playground for bacteria and parasites. So when you dig into that medium rare pork chop, you might be inviting some uninvited guests to wreak havoc in your body. Are you ready to be grossed out by the secret ingredient in many of your favorite red foods? Carmine. You see, carmine is derived from boiling insect shells in sodium carbonate. Yes, bugs. Approximately 70,000 of them are sacrificed to produce just 1 pound of this dye.
When you take some of these bugs and we grind them up, we'll put some on this lid here. Now watch this. We're going to add a few drops of water. In just seconds, it turns into a brilliant scarlet red dye.
Instant noodles. Sure, they're convenient and tasty, but the production process is enough to make your stomach turn. These noodles are so heavily processed that they're practically a science experiment in a packet. And if you thought they were just harmless little noodles, think again. Studies have shown that eating these instant delights too often can lead to a whole host of health issues, from obesity to diabetes and even heart problems.
The safety of what's a staple food for many, instant noodles. The Consumer Council found potentially cancer-causing chemicals in nearly 90% of the instant noodles it tested.
So next time you're tempted to reach for that packet of instant noodles, just remember what you're really putting into your body. Orange juice. It all starts with oranges, but that's where the simplicity ends. The juice is stored in huge vats with the oxygen sucked out, so it can sit on shelves for up to a year.
How long can you keep it for?
The manufacturer says that we could leave the juice there for more than 1 year, even 2 years.
So you could keep orange juice in these tanks for 2 whole years?
Yeah, we could.
But this process also sucks out the natural orange flavor, leaving the juice tasting like, well, nothing. To fix this flavorless mess, companies add in chemical-laden flavor packs, similar to what you'd find in perfumes. If you want your orange juice to actually taste like oranges, your best bet is to squeeze them yourself at home. That way you can be sure your juice is 100% pure and not a science project in a carton. Tuna. This seemingly innocent seafood is actually a toxic cocktail of mercury, arsenic, lead, tin, and other pollutants. It's like a hazardous waste dump disguised as a meal. You might as well be eating a can of industrial waste with a side of heavy metals.
Tuna, just like other fish, can contain mercury. And if you eat a lot of fish, you can expose yourself to this potentially dangerous heavy metal.
So next time you're tempted to order that tuna roll or tuna salad, think about what you're really putting into your body. Maybe opt for something a little less toxic. Honey. How much do you actually know about how honey is made? Because it's not as sweet as you think. Bees start by slurping up nectar from flowers and storing it in their honey stomach. Then, they come back to the hive and regurgitate the nectar into another bee's mouth. It's like a gross game of pass the parcel, but with partially digested nectar. The bees keep passing the nectar around, adding digestive enzymes along the way, until it finally ends up in a honeycomb, and it's still super watery at this point. So, to thicken it up, the bees flap their wings like crazy to evaporate the excess fluid. And just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, they seal it up with a secretion from their abdomen that hardens into beeswax. So, next time you drizzle honey on your toast, just remember, it's basically bee vomit. Peanut butter. Before you dive in for another spoonful, check this. You see, peanut butter isn't just made from peanuts, it also contains a delightful mix of natural contaminants. And by natural contaminants, we mean bits of insects and even some charming rat hair. Yes, rat hair.
Do you ever wonder what's in your food? Well, if you do, then you're not alone. The Food and Drug Administration regulates food safety and ensures that it's sanitary, but you might be surprised at what that includes.
But the truth is, these little extras aren't intentionally added, but they somehow find their way into the mix because of inadequate nut harvesting and sorting, so they end up in jars that are shipped worldwide. Jelly beans. The beloved jelly beans you adore may have a not-so-sweet secret ingredient: bugs. Yes, those shiny, colorful jelly beans get their glossy finish from a substance called shellac, which is derived from the excretions of female lac bugs. These little critters produce a material that is processed into a resin, which is then used to give candies their trademark shine. This resin can be dissolved in ethanol, the same stuff found in gasoline, to create the final product. While some manufacturers have switched to alternative coatings due to consumer concerns, there are still some out there who are sticking with the bug-based glaze. So, if you'd rather not have a side of bugs with your jelly beans, you might want to think twice before getting sweet treats. After all, who wants to munch on insect byproducts when they're trying to satisfy their sugar cravings? Packaged meat. Are you a fan of that fresh-looking red meat in the grocery store? Turns out, that vibrant red color isn't a guarantee of freshness. It's often the result of a little something called carbon monoxide. Yes, the same stuff that comes out of car exhaust pipes.
Put the evidence from those studies together to show that the consumption of processed or red meats was quite possibly associated with an increased risk of a variety of different types of cancer.
Meat producers use carbon monoxide to keep that red hue looking oh so fresh for up to 20 days. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. This sneaky practice can trick you into thinking you're getting top-notch meat, when in reality, it could be past its prime. But there are some smaller companies, like Calsec in Kalamazoo, Michigan, who are saying no way to carbon monoxide. They're using natural colorings, herbs, and spices to keep their meat looking naturally red for a shorter time. So next time you're eyeing that red meat, remember, looks can be deceiving. Chewing gum. Sure, it's known for its minty freshness and the joy it brings to your taste buds, but do you really know what's in it? A waxy secretion from sheep's sebaceous glands. Well, it has a fancy name, lanolin. It's what makes gum so delightfully chewy. Nutella. It's sweet and creamy, but have you ever taken a closer look at its ingredients? We're talking about sugar, modified palm oil, vanillin, cocoa, lecithin, skimmed milk powder, hazelnuts, and whey powder. Not exactly a nutritious lineup, right? And let's not forget about the calorie bomb that comes with just 2 tablespoons of this Nutella, over 200 calories. With 11 grams of fat, which is about 70% saturated, and 21 grams of processed sugar, it's no wonder it tastes so rich. But that sugar rush, it's followed by a crash that will leave you reaching for more. Even the creators of Nutella, Ferrero, got in trouble for misleading health claims.
Well, it's a delicious hazelnut spread that can make boring toast taste great, but according to a new study, one of the key ingredients in Nutella may actually cause cancer. The European Food Safety Authority found that palm oil, one of Nutella's main ingredients, caused the aggressive spread of cancer.
They settled a lawsuit for $3 million and promised to clean up their act. So next time you reach for that jar of Nutella, remember to enjoy it in moderation. Because let's face it, too much of this sugary, fatty delight can lead to a not so delightful energy crash. Coal tar dye.
People don't realize about artificial colors is that most of them are actually made from coal tar.
Can you believe that some of our favorite foods are actually made with industrial waste? This lovely little ingredient is used to give snacks like cheese-flavored chips, pickles, and bright orange sodas their oh so appetizing color. Sadly, it has also been linked to health issues like hyperactivity in kids, asthma, cancer, and even migraines. Maybe it's time to think twice before reaching for that artificially colored snack. French fries.
French fries, they may not be good for your waistline, but your hairline, now that's a whole different story.
Get me some fries as fast as you can. The Japanese researchers think they've uncovered a new hair loss treatment in the fryer grease used in the McDonald's restaurants, if you can believe it.
You might think they're just innocent potatoes smothered in ketchup, but think again. McDonald's has turned these seemingly harmless spuds into a hot mess of controversy. It turns out it takes over 19 ingredients to turn a potato into those crispy golden fries we all know and love. Sure, you'd expect potatoes, oil, and salt, but the ingredients are much more complex. Ever heard of citric acid, dimethylpolysiloxane, alloxan, dextrose, sodium acid pyrophosphate, and TBHQ? Also, it turns out these fries are pre-cooked in beef tallow, which didn't sit well with Hindus and vegetarians who thought they were safe to munch on. McDonald's even had to cough up $10 million to settle legal disputes with offended groups. And if that's not enough to make you lose your appetite, how about the fact that these fries can last for 4 years without losing their looks? It makes you wonder what kind of chemistry experiment is going on in those fryers. Think twice before you dip those fries in ketchup next time. Worcestershire sauce. Are you the type of person who is constantly checking expiration dates and worrying about the freshness of your food? Well, if you are, then Worcestershire sauce might just be your worst nightmare. This seemingly innocent condiment is actually made with a laundry list of ingredients: anchovies, garlic, onions, and a whole bunch of other ingredients left to ferment for over 18 months. Margarine. You see, margarine is not as innocent as it may seem. Sure, it's made from vegetable oil, which sounds healthy enough, right? Wrong. The process of creating margarine involves a little something called hydrogenation. This fancy-sounding process essentially involves bombarding vegetable oil with hydrogen atoms to make it solid at room temperature. But hydrogenation also creates trans fats, which have been linked to a whole host of health issues. So much for being the healthier alternative, right? In addition to those pesky trans fats, margarine is chock full of artificial additives and colorings. Just take a gander at the ingredient list on your favorite tub of margarine and prepare to be amazed or maybe horrified by the laundry list of unpronounceable chemicals. Not exactly the kind of stuff you want to be slavering on your morning muffin, is it? Microwave popcorn. Who doesn't love the convenience of microwave popcorn? But before you hit that pop button, check this out. You see, the lining of the microwave popcorn bag contains something called perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA for short. Well, we might not be scientists, but we do know this. PFOA has been linked to some pretty serious health issues.
New study suggesting that microwave popcorn may be bad for your heart. Scientists say an acid commonly used in things like non-stick cookware is also in the lining of those bags of microwave popcorn.
We're talking about things like cancer, thyroid problems, and even infertility. Not exactly the kind of side effects you want from your movie night snack, right? So maybe it's time to rethink our popcorn popping methods. Sure, the microwave is quick and easy, but at what cost? Is sacrificing our health really worth the convenience?
I ate about 2 bags a day, every day.
Every day for 10 years.
You cannot blow air out. The very small airways become blocked with scar tissue and inflammation.
So it's safer to use the old-fashioned way of popping kernels. You know, the kind where you use a pot, some oil, and a little bit of elbow grease. It may take a few extra minutes, but it's worth it. Not only do you get to avoid all those nasty chemicals, but you also get to customize your popcorn however you like. Flavored yogurt. The process of making yogurt begins with milk, which is heated to just the right temperature to kill off any harmful bacteria. Once the milk has been heated, live bacterial cultures are added to kickstart the fermentation process. This is what gives yogurt its characteristic tangy flavor and creamy texture. The mixture is then incubated at a specific temperature to allow the bacteria to work their magic and transform the milk into yogurt. But what about flavored yogurt? While it may seem like a simple matter of adding some fruit or flavoring agents to plain yogurt, the reality is a bit more complex. Many commercially available flavored yogurts are loaded with added sugars and artificial ingredients, which can detract from the health benefits of this dairy delight. So perhaps it's time to reconsider our yogurt choices. Instead of reaching for those pre-packaged, sugar-laden options, why not opt for plain yogurt and get creative with your own natural sweeteners and toppings? Fresh fruit, a drizzle of honey, or a sprinkle of granola can take your yogurt from mundane to magnificent without the added sugars and artificial additives. Swordfish. This majestic creature cannot be tamed or farmed. It must be caught one by one on a line by hard-working fishermen. So how is it that every restaurant seems to have an endless supply? Well, we hate to break it to you, but what you're actually eating is often not swordfish at all. It's a shark, and if you're really unlucky, it might even be mercury-soaked tuna. While this newfound knowledge might be a bit unsettling, it's also an opportunity to make more informed choices about the foods we consume. Whether you decide to bid farewell to these foods for good or simply approach them with a new level of awareness, one thing is for sure, your perspective on these foods will never be the same.